And welcome back to the revolution. Welcome to Aquarius season. I'm at home in New York for a little bit, which I always love, and it's a good time to get into this because I need to be home to feel like a little kid, and that's what we have coming up. We have the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Leo. Cancer is the mother, Leo is the child, Saturn is the father, Aquarius is the child. And so we go from an axis of responsibility, deep emotional work, the pushing through and doing the adult thing, wearing a really baggy vector heart sweatshirt. They're on the merch site. Actually, no, they're not. No, yes, they are. But you can only see the back of the sweatshirt. If you click through the pictures, you'll see the front. They're dope. But I'll explain later about the sweatshirts. So we go from a time of great responsibility. There have been so many emotional shifts. There has been so much work to do. And we know going into Capricorn season that it will be work. It's never lost on us that it's going to be hard. It's never lost on us that winters are difficult. Or, for some of us born in the southern hemisphere, the summers are very difficult. It's just a difficult energy to deal with, right? So we knew that. We knew it would be hard. But you'd be surprised to know how many people have a harder time going from being the adult who pushes through to being the open-minded, open-hearted child who wants to explore and learn constantly and consistently. That's why children ask so many questions. That's why they roam around all the time. That's why they don't like to sit still. That's why they're so hyper, because they're just little learning machines. And to go from a time of we're trying to keep ourselves alive, climate-wise, food scarcity-wise, light-wise, depression-wise, trying to get as much done as we can to push through the rest of the winter. We really have to, with the moon in Cancer, there was a lot of emotional stuff. This video is just a few days before the eclipse coming up, which will be a culmination of all the work we've been doing. So the work with the moon in Cancer was so much about the big things, the things that your mom is going to say to you that no one else would. It's the conversation with the mother that you need to have about your emotions, about your love life, about your feelings. So we go from that to a time of, I don't want any more advice. I don't want any more, instructions. Don't baby me. I don't want parenting. I want to be this exuberant child who's let out into the world to do whatever they want and learn through tumbling and falling over. Cats are very resilient, moon and Leo. They just get back up. The whole 9 lives thing, right? So we're entering a time of play. And that so directly contradicts where we've been and what we've been doing that I'm not sure how many of us can switch gears fast enough. I think that's why the eclipse and the impending energy makes us even more nervous, because it's difficult to make this switch. It's not the easiest, passing over of energy. But if you naturally have an open mind, and if you naturally have this open-sided view of the world where you take everything in without any judgment, without any baggage, it can be an incredible time, because what you're leading into with Aquarius season, where all your energy is going to go now, is into this heart center ideal. We're moving into a place of doing not just the right thing, but the good thing, the progressive thing, the most fair thing, to the point where the expansive vision is so childlike in its openness and lack of judgment that a lot of people can stick even more to their ideals because the openness scares them. It breaks too many of the hierarchies on which they survive. And so Aquarius season always ends up being a time where those hierarchies start to take some hits and start to dissolve here and there. And Aquarius really revels in that energy. You guys like the idea of dismantling that which doesn't work, which is great. But it can be really stressful on some of the other signs. So, for example, there are signs that when they're doing really well, when their season comes around, everyone seems to be doing really well, because the kind of really well that they are suits pretty much everyone's, disposition. What Aquarians swell from, and what is the Aquarian way of doing well, is to be at that very forefront, razor's edge of anything and everything. Culture, society, art, government, politics, everything, design, music. So when everyone is in Aquarius season now pushed to that edge, some signs will respond very positively. So the air signs will feel great during Aquarius season because we have trines coming up and we have placements, Libra and Gemini, and obviously Sun in Aquarius, that will create great synergy if you are trying to impart some truth in the world. So if you have something to say, this is a great time to say it if you are an air sign. It's a great time to put something out that you know is new, that you know is going to have a huge impact. It's a great time to do it. So the air signs, honestly, I don't even feel like they need to be addressed separately. I mean, yes, Gemini has definitely had some tower moments. Listen to the podcasts. We're all caught up there on the Gemini tower moments. And of course, I'll talk about that in our reading. But Gemini, Libra, Aquarius have it pretty easy the next month or so. Thank God. More so, where you run into trouble is with the earth signs. The earth signs can be really resistant to the Aquarius energy. They don't appreciate, in a lot of ways, that razor's edge. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the earth mind. Sometimes to the earth sensibility, Aquarians can seem to be pushing the edge just for the sake of pushing the edge, which really doesn't gel well with the practicality at the base of their nature, right? It's foundational stuff. So Taurus, if you're feeling, as soon as we get into Aquarius season, like there's not enough of a pen, you have nothing to, kind of cozily hold you in a little, create something for yourself. Make some sort of a routine for yourself so you don't just end up, dissipating all your energy and then all of a sudden the month is over and you haven't really done anything because you've kind of just been in your head, right? If you have heavy Virgo placements of any kind, you may feel a big pull and then a big push all through the season. It's like being on a boat that's just, won't stop rocking. And sometimes it feels great if you can get into the rhythm of it, and other times you're totally against the rhythm and you don't know what to do because you just feel really, really sick. It's not just that it's Aquarius season, it's this particular Aquarius season with all the other things we have going on. So the cross is going to push and pull at you. Now, knowing that, is there a way to dissolve that before it even happens? Well, yeah. What you can do is realize that whatever you're thinking at the beginning of the month, you'll probably be thinking the complete opposite by the end of the month. So by the end of February, you're going to look at anything that you feel is set in stone now as you're watching this video and say, okay, I never thought I was going to change my mind about that, but I think I changed my mind about that. And the great thing about Virgos is that when you do realize that you have learned something, you needed to learn something, you've gained some insight, you accept it, you acknowledge it, you acknowledge that this is more intelligent, and so therefore you will adopt the more intelligent thing. My heart just jumped. I thought the camera had frozen. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, so there's that. Capricorn, your season is ending and I'm sure you are exhausted. Get some rest. Just let people do what they're going to do in Aquarius season because it gets on your nerves anyway, so don't pay it too much mind. Your job is done. You did really well. Enjoy yourself and get some rest. Rejuvenate. Recharge. Go somewhere. Do something for yourself. All right. Now, moving on. Sagittarians have an interesting time with Aquarius season. It can be a time of great growth. You can definitely use Aquarius, let's say the path, the road, the yellow brick road that is the Aquarian thinking, and shoot your arrow really, really far, which is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can also feel a little lonely. That's a feature of Aquarius season because it is so little about the self. Does that make sense? Sun in Leo, it feels like everybody's your friend. Sun in Aquarius, it feels like the collective is your friend. But sometimes the collective, because it's not a person, can make you feel very isolated and alone. And Aquarian energy has the ability to love the collective as if it were a person, to have compassion on the scale, a worldwide scale, millions. So there is something lonely about that, isn't there? Like, you feel so deeply about these larger ideals that run the world. But because not a lot of people can follow your thinking or meet you there, you often find yourself alone. Not by your own design, not because you want to be, but because few people can get there where you naturally are. That's the thing. A lot of people, you'll notice Aquarius that they have to strive and try to keep up with you during this season because their brain can't quite catch the speed. And I think you guys are like a centrifuge. You can distill ideas down to great insight to the point where a certain mindset just can't handle you. And so you have to be careful with the fire signs, especially with the moon in Leo, that you don't push anybody too far, that it makes them, react against you. You have to... Fire energy just has a way with still air of burning up all the oxygen in the room. And it can be very contentious. So let's break it down one by one. So Leos, so Sagittarius, just, mind how vast this is and how far your arrows can fly and how exhausted you can become and how lonely you can feel when it's all said and done. And mitigate that by being around people, making plans with friends, really sincerely getting to a point where you don't care if you have a date, for Valentine's Day, like all that stuff. Aries are in a process of learning right now. And Aquarius season is perfect for learning. Aries has that childlike nature. Aquarius has the childlike nature. The two work well together when they're brave. When the Aries is afraid or the Aquarius is afraid, it can go horribly wrong. So if you find yourself fearful during Aquarius season, do some meditating. Figure out what it is that's really frightening you before the season starts, and then it just magnifies your fears, because you are in a time where a lot of your fears are coming up, and look at what keeps you from being childlike. But we'll go into that more in your video. And then we have Leo. So the moon in your sign. it is a great time for just building love, building those memories, building those family connections. See your family. Hang out with them. Take some vacation time, even though you shouldn't. Make them a priority. Make the people you love a priority because you need it, not because they need it, because you need it. Yeah, I don't want to yell at you, but you need to like carve some time out here. Okay, who else? We did earth, we did air, we did fire. Let's do water. So, water. Scorpio. Scorpio has been having some interesting moments. Everyone has been reaching out to me talking about some Scorpio situation or other that they've had to let go. And my mind is just boggled by how the frequency with which these messages have been coming in. So it feels, as of now, that Scorpios are going through a process of loss. And Aquarius season can be a good soothing balm when you can remember on a philosophical level that there are plenty of fish in the sea and that there's enormous amounts of opportunity. So I find that it will soothe you. It will help you. If you don't get caught in the trap of looping, which can happen at this time. It only makes sense. It's so cold in most of the world that it's hard to not go into your head. It's hard to not stay inside and go into your head, right? So guarding against the looping, if you can let the time soothe you instead of sting you, it will be your choice, as always. Cancer. So it was going really well, and then it started to fall apart, and it's way too much to talk about here, but it's just the waves going up and down, and I'll explain it to you, and you'll be fine. But for now, just realize that Aquarius season will bring a much-needed spotlight off certain things that you really are just like, why are we still talking about this? We don't need to really be looking at this. The remnants are finally just like moving along. So hold on, breathe, do one of the guided meditations. There's a couple at the very beginning of the channel. There's a soulmate one. There's another one. There's one on Vimeo. Just like chill out, and as soon as your video comes out, it will make a lot more sense. I just don't want to go into it because it's just so much. And I think you guys know that. So you're like, yeah, no, we get it. We get each other. We're there. Pisces. Yeah, the emotions have been running very high, and we knew with the moon in Cancer that would happen, right? But even though we know something is going to happen, it's difficult to deal with, even if you can anticipate it. It has been a lot, and there have been some very interesting photos of sea life recently that have come out, of sea life really acting out and wanting to interact with humans and wanting to speak. Pisces seem to be going through a time of really needing to exercise that throat chakra and really get into it and say what they want and create even hyper-creation now. Hyper-creation, that's what comes to mind. Again, that there's no issue. Aquarius season isn't going to hold you back in any way, except that hyper-creation is now a force and a speed in your 12th house, which is amazing because Pisces 12th house, the art that you can make, the what you can create at this time is so magic, and yet you can feel the pressure of needing to push away from Capricorn season and into the flow and into the pond that is Aquarius season. It requires a little effort. Salmon swimming upstream. And you will be doing that until the eclipse, and then you will feel, okay, now in the pond of abundance, let us create. And I did this last month, but then I didn't mention Capricorn, and people were like, wait, you did everyone but Capricorn. Okay, but it's Capricorn season, so I didn't think I needed to do Capricorn, but let's not make the same mistake twice. So Aquarius, I would like to read you something. It is from the Scientific American Mind from May, June of 2015. Wait for it. Delayed feedback enhances learning, but only if you're curious. Let me read it to you. It's called Wait for It. Delayed feedback enhances learning, but only if you're curious. It may seem that getting instant results would enhance learning, but various studies indicate a benefit to feedback that is delayed. Test takers are more likely to retain the correct answer if they receive it several seconds after providing their answers rather than immediately. To understand why delayed answers improve learning, researchers at Iowa State University asked college students to give their best guess to trivia questions, such as who coined the word nerd and what color is a grasshopper's blood, and to rate how curious they were about each answer. For half of the items, participants learned the correct answer immediately after responding to the question. For the remaining items, the answers either followed a 4-second delay or an unpredictable interval of 2, 4, or 8 seconds. The students were then tested on the questions after engaging in unrelated distracting tasks. The results, which were published in November 2014 issue of Memory and Cognition, confirm the benefit of delayed feedback and show that it hinges on curiosity. In follow-up tests, participants answered more accurately when feedback arrived later, but only for items that piqued their interest. The researchers suggested that delayed feedback encourages learners to anticipate the answer, which may increase their level of attention to when they receive it. The effect was strongest when feedback was presented at unpredictable intervals, which is in line with previous studies showing that attention is enhanced when an upcoming event's timing is uncertain. So if you're studying with a buddy, ask the person to give you answers after an unpredictable delay of a few seconds. If you're working alone, resist the urge to Google or look up the answer immediately and take a guess first. By the way, Dr. Seuss coined the word nerd, and a grasshopper's blood is white. If you were wondering about those answers, that delay may have just sealed them into your memory forever. That was written by Tori Rodriguez. All right, Tori. Now, why did I read you that? This is the cover of the magazine that month, that year. So cute. So, what about the delayed learning applies to you, Aquarius? Well, it's fairly simple. We go from Capricorn season to this period of delayed learning where we don't have the answers. We have been giving ourselves the answers and the direction all through Capricorn season, and then we come into Aquarius season and we don't really know what we're doing. The only one that really knows this space is Aquarius. So we are all in a place of delayed learning where we are given that 8-second delay where a question is asked and we really don't know what the answer is. We're trying to think up an answer, but we don't know what the answer is. Now, this delay until we get to Pisces season is going to teach us and make us remember whatever it is that we learn next. But without the delay, nothing can be done. Fixed air. It's a time for the mind to try to come up with its own solutions before this sort of Taoistic Piscean, completely 12th house energy comes in and shows you, the big insight. But what's the point of the big insight if you're not going to be able to digest it and understand it? And if your mind first hasn't gone through the exercises of trying to figure the thing out itself. Now you can see how fixed air becomes so important if it is essentially the delay of knowledge and the inner workings of the cogs of the mind turning, trying to come up with an answer as it waits for the right answer. That time is so precious and so important, and that space being given to the mind to work itself is so important, because without it, as we can see, even if we are given the right answer, but if we are given the right answer without the delay, without getting to think about it first, we don't remember it. So it's not worth anything. That information means nothing to us, right? In the same way, we push through Capricorn season, we get where we want to get, and then we hit Aquarius season and it's like, wait, okay, the question is huge. I got to the top of the mountain and now the expanse, the view, the horizon is so broad and so big. Like, I don't know the answer to this question. The question is too vast for me. And the mind goes into contemplation. The mind starts to think up solutions to the really big existential, philosophical questions of life, the things that make us more than a species of animal, the thing that makes us human, essentially, is this ability to be philosophical, to be of the higher mind. But the higher mind is an exercise, and it needs to be worked, and it needs to be given its space to work, even if it's doing the wrong thing. It doesn't matter if the solution you come up with while you're waiting for the right answer is right or wrong. It matters that you did the mental work. It matters that you went through the exercise, because then when you get the right information, you'll be able to retain it. And that's where I think the connection between Aquarius and truth comes in. It is when we exercise our mind that when the truth is given to us, that we are able to digest it and make it a part of ourselves. So you have a two-folded job during your season. You know, Leos get to chill and party during their season, and you guys get to work, of course. But it's a work that's like childish and playful. It's like a teenager at their first job kind of work, so it's not a big deal, right? But you get to, hold space for everybody who's trying to answer these big questions now in their life, and they're not used to doing it like you're used to doing it. So they're completely at a loss and probably bugging out and feeling really stressed and frustrated because they want to solve these big questions, but they're so out of their depth. So when they come to you and say, hey, I'm really bugging out, like I want to solve these big questions, but I'm so out of my depth, you have the job of saying, okay, well, and then do your Aquarian thing, which I'm not even going to mimic because I don't know how to do it. But providing those bigger answers, this kind of reminds me of this, or this kind of reminds me of this particular philosophy, or this particular manifesto, or this thing that I read, or all the plethora of things that you guys have, the knowledge you have at your fingertips. Use it to help the people around you who are now, their brains are hurting from the expansion. When I was pregnant, I was doing my post-bac for med school, and I could feel my brain would hurt sometimes because the onslaught of information, I would say I feel my brain stretching. Like it was such a bizarre feeling, but a lot of people this time of year, they can feel their brain stretching, and either that's the most wonderful, glorious, yes, I love it, I want to just immerse myself and absorb myself with all this information, or it can feel like a vice because they're not open to it, because they can't, even though, the expanse is so big, they don't want to see it. And so you have the job of holding space for them and understanding if they can't see it, and perhaps trying to soothe them a little, or holding their hand and taking that open-eyed journey with them because they're willing to walk down your path and they're good at it. But either way, you have to nurse people a little bit right now. And you're thinking, well, what about us? Well, happy birthday. You are home. You get to do all the things that you like to do, and the energy out here in the universe matches you, and so you get to seamlessly flow on what is essentially the dawn of your age. Every Aquarius season is important and special because it's your age now. You are on, you are approaching that crest. I mean, it's going to take thousands of years, but you were at the beginning. It's very exciting. So just knowing that you are that sacred space where the mind works itself and primes itself to become more intelligent and retain information, I think is really cool. And it's something to, I don't know. It sounds weird, but it's something to be proud of, That's only an air sign would say that, but it's such an intellectual thing. And I think it's really Aquarians like that kind of thing because it's so much your personality. So, yeah. Yeah, and the other side, I said it was twofold, right? The other side is, walking down the road with people who are ready, and their mind is open enough. And also, as the season comes to an end and people get hit with those really big truths, to be there for them in a way that perhaps other people will not know how to be, just because most of the truths that everyone else is going to get hit with, you, one, probably already know and are just digesting in several ways, or two, um, there was some essential truth that you've been running from, and it kind of hits you now, but it's hitting the people around you at the same time, and you can, through your collective compassion, this kind of global sense of commiseration that you can have, you can dilute your own pain and recover much quicker and be much more resilient, because you sort of diffuse the pain amongst many through that system that you have a feeling for the mass, right? Yes. So, welcome to Aquarius season. I'm sorry about your video. Too much happened, too much got in the way. We'll talk about it in your video for this month, and your extended is free as an apology from me. All right. I love you guys. I will see you in the videos, which start tomorrow. Bye. Love you.